These college presidents, when asked if it called for genocide against the Jews or against Jewish students, should be stopped on a college campus, their answers before Congress yesterday are appalling. And I want to thank, before we even start this, our friend Congresswoman Elise Stefanik from New York, who's been on this program many, many times, for pointing this out and to show the outrage. I want you to listen to this, folks, and listen to it carefully.
Ms. Magill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. Magill.
How do they even make these horrible remarks and feel okay with it? Because you know it's planned. You know they're going to get asked this. This isn't a gotcha question.
No, this is their planned statement.
This is the planned statement. How do we get there? And mainly, how do we get out of this?
These university presidents have no backbone. Why cannot I say, of course, the call for the genocide of any group, Jews included, would be harassment, especially when it's aimed at the students on your campus.
Does calling for genocide of Jews violate their code of conduct? And they kind of go back and forth on it. And then it goes to, if it is severe. So the answer is yes. It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman. That is a really bizarre way to answer this question.
So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or
becomes
no?
if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. Magill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes.
It can be harassment? No, it is harassment.
And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of antisemitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
These university presidents knew they were going to get asked this question, and despite knowing that, they gave that answer, which means that's what they really think. And that's what they're teaching these students. And these are the next generations of leaders in the United States of America. And that, to me, is the core problem here, Cece.
Yeah, clearly it's ignorance. People do not understand
I don't think
the
those
facts.
university presidents, it's ignorance, Cece.
Well,
I think they
intentional.
calculated
Yeah.
what they said. And they're trying to run this line to not offend the Muslim students. And if the way you have to not offend a Muslim student, and this doesn't speak for all Muslims, by the way, these are the ones that are doing these protests, is you have to say that extermination of a race of Jews is okay, is pretty pathetic.
And it's ridiculous, and it's terrible that is happening and being pushed in the United States.
It creates a zone of hostility in these campuses.
Yes.
Where Jewish students now, we're hearing from them, are scared. They are frightened about what's going on in their campuses. And Christian students that are pro-Israel are frightened. Mm-hmm. So this is the reality of what these students are living with. And then these university presidents go on and pull that off yesterday. It was disgusting.
This shows how dangerous a situation we are in, especially when you listen to that and watch that video within the context of how these are the very same people. If you disagree with someone politically or you say something that offends someone else, then you should not be allowed to say those things because you're making them uncomfortable. It is absolutely shocking and incredibly dangerous and creating a physically unsafe environment for Jewish students on these campuses when a college or university president cannot immediately, without hesitation, answer that question by saying yes.
It was calculated. This was something that they knew they were going to get asked, and they said.
Yeah, I don't think they caught anyone off guard with this question. I don't think Elise came in and said, we're going to try to get a gotcha question here. It was a pretty standard question. Which was
the basic questions of the hearing.
The basic question is, does calling for genocide violate your code of conduct? And the answer was, well, depending. And it depends on if it's targeted to a person or if it's targeted to a group. If it's to a person, yes. If it's to a group, maybe not. I mean, the fact that they're saying context is really what's king here is pretty absurd.